I had to restart it. Wanted to switch it up to 1080 rather than 4K. Alright. To start over. So let me try resetting the window height thing. Will that work? Source size. Okay, so I'll just continue, even though I had to stop. So note lengths. You could have the note length tuplet variation like this, so that the note length, the tuplet variation, I'm specifically talking about note lengths, how Guitar Pro measure sheet music, how it's written, what the requirements are. So the requirement is that you need the exact amount of note lengths to fill the measure. So according to the time signature in this case 4/4 time signature, which equals to a float value of 4.0. So if you think of it like simple math, adding floats to equal an exact number. So tuplets, and I was talking about note length values. So like the quarter note length, if you look up the top, I'll add one that I'd work with this measure again. So I just have, oh, I'm still getting used to this window. Trying to get it to show everything. So on the top here, right where it's kind of tiny to read, but it says 1.0, 4.0, or there's a colon, semicolon, or colon between them. But basically, because I have this note highlighted in the first measure, the first note, I've highlighted the quarter note. So that shows the current amount of note length in the measure. And so one quarter note is equal to 1.0 out of 4.0. And then you have the different note lengths. You have, I'm gonna put 4, now it shows the green, this measure is complete. But basically, yeah, you have different note lengths. You have a whole note, which is equal to 4.0 by itself, by the default note length. Then you have half notes, which are 2.0, so it takes 2 to fill a 4.0. And you just go down the list. Let's put these at the front, actually. Bar, insert bar. So whole note, half note. So it takes one whole note, 2 half notes, 4 quarter notes, 8 eighth notes. Let's mix it up, and then 16th notes. Of course, I'm stopping at 16th. And there's a way to add text in here. Let's say one whole equals 4.0 note length. And I'll just put in the text. 2 half equal 4.0. That's a bit confusing. Hold on. 1.0 and 2.0 note length. 2 plus 2.0 note length equal 4.0 note length. I'm trying not to get it too long here. Okay, I guess I'll just do this way. That text is going to overlap. But it's okay. This could be like a tutor type of file. Where is it? Let's call this tutor. Okay, you get the point here. Uh, 1/8 note is 0.25. Okay, and then this one, what is that, 0? Wait, no, I think I got it wrong. That has to be 0. Let's see. Yeah, whoops. Eighth note is 0.5. I've gone through all the variations of note length so many times in my program recently. I have a list of all the possible note lengths, which I'm getting into slowly here. And then these are the 0.25. Yeah, the 16ths are the 0.25. I don't think, actually, it's okay. The overlap is just fine here. So these are the standard note lengths. From the wholes to the halves to the quarters to the eighths to 16ths. That's all I'm sticking to. 30 seconds, 64 is too fast. I'm not considering it. Except unless it's a rest, but that's another topic. So in particular, let's look at, oh, hold on. Let me fix something here. Okay, a little louder. All right, now we're going into the note length variations. Let's add a section. Section, how do you do that? Variations. We're going to call this section defaults. Alright, default note lengths, and then you got their variations. Right, variations, we're going to say tuplets, non-dotted. And they go together, actually. So let's say this. Okay, now there's quite a lot of variations. Well, kind of. A handful of variations of tuplets. So this variation, say 0.667, 0.667, 0.667, 1.0, 1.0. Those are the same note lengths. 3/4 equals a tuplet. And then you could have different variations. But I don't want to go through the variations. Maybe just one. As far as tuplet, if you have two, I forget I have a list of all the possible combinations, but just trial and error, you can figure them out. So here's another possible combination of different note lengths. Now you have to make sure they match. You can't while you can add a tuplet that doesn't match, like this one, it's just by itself. It's not like with anything unless you make it more. But if it's not a part of something, it just has the letter 3 on it. And I'm trying to get it so that it has valid groupings. We're getting into my program here in a bit. I'm just going over uh dang it, hold on. Going over how the program thinks about, let me get a certain window open. Where'd that window go? Did I close? Hold on, I have to restart the program. I think I closed the song creator. So there's two different things of the program, song creator, song visualizer. This is the one. There we go. Okay, this song creator, I'm trying to get into like what I did with it recently. I overhauled a bunch of things, how it generates files, and I'm getting into the topic of note lengths. In particular, before I get into what I changed in the program, I'm just going over what are the possible note lengths, what's the requirements of making a Guitar Pro 5 file, and went over default note lengths, and now I'm going into the variations, variations of tuplets, and the tuplets which are not dotted. Actually, I skipped a step, didn't I? Let's go over to, before we get to that, let's go to variations dotted non-tuplet. Okay, so let's start at the top. I'm gonna have to change the time signature, this 6/4, for this example, instead of 4/4. So now instead of a float length of 4.0, we're looking for a float length of 6.0. And what's a float length of 6.0? We're going to talk about the variations of note length. In this case, the variation of the note length is dotted, but it's not a tuplet. So usually a note length is 4.0, and you see how the measure is red because I'm not matching the 6.0 yet. But if I add a dotted variation, now if you see the note, it's on the screen now, 6.0. So a whole note goes to one whole dotted equals 6.0 note length. I want to go to design mode and let's space this out. All right. All right, so default note length, default whole, default half, view design mode, default border, default space, defaults 16. Oops, I didn't mean to do text. Defaults 16. So I meant to do section. Trying to make it one measure show at a time. Okay. Did I delete something here? 3.75? I didn't mean to. Okay. Next up is variations. Dotted, non-tuplet. Change that to say whole. Add a measure. I'm gonna add a bunch of measures. Control insert. Variations non-dotted tuplet whole. Then we're gonna do half, and then quarter. Section, not text. Quarter, not quartet. Quarter. Next section, eighth, then 16th. Okay, so let's say turn off design mode for now. Okay, so now one whole dotted equals 6.0. 1 half dotted equals 3.0. So, okay. And that is still 64 times signature, I mean. We're going to say 1 half dotted equals 3.0. No, right. Okay. I should do more 64 times signatures to have more dotted. Okay, so 64 times signature, whole, half. Now we're going to quarter. And we're going to say 1 dotted quarter equals 1.5. Quarter. 1 quarter dotted equals 1.5 note length. Okay. And then eighth note, same thing. Kind of fascinating, it requires 6/4 to be even with dotted variations. So 1 dotted eighth equals to 0.75. 1 dotted 1/8 dotted equals 0.75. Note length. I am gonna have to remove the note length eventually. 0.75 note length. Okay. Then 16th, same thing, but it goes from non-dotted value of 0.25 to a value of 0.375. So it's still not quite an eighth, but it's more than a 16th, the default 16th. Or, yeah. Okay, so let me just add 16. Oops. 4 sections of 4, basically. Or actually 8 sections of 2. Guess it don't matter. Or does it? Let's see. Interesting. I don't know if that's worth noticing, but a default 16th is 4 groups of 4, but dotted 16ths is 2 groups of 8. I think that does matter because the spacing between them, perhaps? I'm not sure. Anyways, let's go through each one. What is it, 0.3 something? 0.375, 0.375. All right, now we're going to enter, let's say, definitions of note lengths. Definitions of note lengths times sig. Okay, good enough. Now we're going to do tuplets non-dotted. Get rid of these measures. And these. All right, and we're going to go back to 4.4 and 4.4. Okay. So this one's still off. Okay, so 3 tuplets or 3 note lengths of the same value is a tuplet, can be tuplet. So you can have 5 quarters in the measure instead of 4. Or you can have actually, let me expand by doing variations. Not yet. Let's not do variations yet. Let's do variations later of different note lengths. Different note lengths. Dang it, I keep doing text. I want to have section. Okay, so if we go to variations tuplets non-dotted, then we're going to see the same note lengths, 5 quarters instead of 4. Then we could switch it up. We could say so what is these? Eighth notes, 3, 6, 9. Wow. Well, that's fascinating. Instead of 8 eighth notes, you can have 12 eighth notes. Now, why is that? Well, let's look at it without a tuplet. I mean, visually, you can see default note lengths. They have 4 groups of 2. But when you make a tuplet, it becomes a group of 3. So you have 4 groups of 3. Now that is fascinating, because it stays 4 groups. You don't change the number of groups, you change the amount in each group. So it goes from 4 groups of 2 to 4 groups of 3. That is fascinating. But what is the note length again? 0.5 to 0.333. So 0.333. Okay. And then 4 groups of, I want to put that down. Variations, dotted, non-tuplet. No, this is tuplets, non-dotted, eighth, 4 groups of 3. Then we're going to go into 16th. Instead of 2 groups of 4, we're going to have, what is it? 2 groups of 5? Let's find out. Wait, what's that? Wait a second. That's interesting. Let me try this again. Just fill it out. So we have 8 groups of 2. No, sorry, 8 groups of 3 compared to 4 groups of 2. So by default, usually it's 4 groups of 2, but with tuplet, it makes it 8 groups of 3. Now that's interesting. Okay then. Let me just make sure I grasp that. Oops. Okay. So by default, it's 4 groups of 2, but with tuplets, it's 8 groups of 3. It's, okay. Can you tell the difference? Let's give it the section name. I'm going to call it 16th and 8 groups of 3 rather than what just happened? Is it too long? Rather, no, 16th. Four G 3. Say not 4 groups of 4. So the tuplets make it 8 groups of 3 rather than 4 groups of 4. By default, it's 4 groups of 4. Okay, so next, the third variation type. Let's label them with the letter A, letter B. I mean, there's more we could get into with each variation, different note lengths. Variation, different note lengths. Yeah, that's still not going to be C. We're going to put C right here. And C will be variations, different note lengths, tuplets, dotted, whole. This is where it gets interesting. What happens if you have a whole note? Non-dotted default non-tuplet whole note length 4.0. Let's add a dot, goes to 6.0. Let's add a tuplet, goes back to 4.0. That is so strange. But what also happens is, change the time signature here. I add another whole note. Instead of 6/4, we're going to need 8/4. So the tuplet makes the dotted longer. So, but the way it does that, it just makes it the default note length. It's so weird. It's hard to wrap my brain around it. So we're going to say 4.1 whole dotted tuplet equals 4.0 note length. It's like they kind of counteract, or it's just so weird because, well, let's get to the tuplet, or sorry, let's get to the quarter example. So for now, we're getting into the half note dotted tuplet. So like the default value of a half note is 2.0. You add a dotted and a tuplet, it's 2.0. But instead of two of them to fill a measure, wait a second. See, this is why it's so weird to me. Like, I'm still wrapping my brain. So it does still take two. Because if you take it dotted out, then you can make it 3. Right? And then it gets weirder because if you have it mix and max or whatever of tuplets that are dotted and not dotted, things get weird in that the variations that are accepted. Because look at this. We have a half dotted, half not dotted, quarter not dotted. And you could probably mix it up even more. Let's see. Let me try something. Quarter, tuplet, dotted. Like, look at... Wait, I wanted one of them to be dotted. But whatever. How advanced could I go here? Like, look at this. This is a weird measure. You could have a dotted half, quarter not dotted, half not dotted. Wait, I'm trying to get examples of mix and matching of dotted. Really just play around until it fits. No, that's too much. Oh, I don't want to do 64th notes. Let's change that. Change that to dotted. No. I'm trying to get to 3 notes to fit. But it's not working out. Let's do 16th. No, actually, I could go back a few times. Hold on. Okay. Not the one I was thinking of. Guess it don't matter. But basically the point is you can mix and match different dotted tuplets, non-dotted tuplets. And the reason why I'm bringing all this up is because in this program, SongVisualizer, I overhauled how I'm generating the measures. So before, I would create the measures one note at a time. I'm talking in the program, in the software level. When I click the generate button, the functions it goes through the generate output, which results into guitar profile song. The process that it goes through of generating the note lengths for the measure. Before, up until recently, I had it go one note at a time through this priority system. So if you go to the lead arrangement, the rhythm arrangement, alt lead arrangement. You got these different variable settings that you could change, and that would dictate how it would go through those, do some numbers, say, okay, based on the numbers, I want to do priority-based system. I had it where it's like these numbers would determine the priority of choosing this note without considering the requirements of the measure of filling it out. Like it would first go by the priority, then it would say would it fit. So let's go by the priority. What's the highest priority note? Quarter? Okay, let's add a quarter. What's the next highest priority note? Let's go with whole. Oh, you can't fit a whole and a half. And it would go through this whole logic note by note. But I overhauled it because it's not the best way to go about it to have priority, because the purely based on priority is just, my goal was just to have some sort of user configuration to change it. But I overhauled this to not rely on these GUIs, these priorities, and it goes by different logic. The logic it goes by now is it first calculates the number of variations which are possible for that time signature based on a list of which note lengths are allowed or not allowed. Do I want whole notes, half notes, quarter notes, eighths notes, sixteenths? Do I want the default values of these? Do I want the dotted values of these? Do I want the tuplet values of these? Do I want the dotted tuplet values of these? What amount of variations could sum up to the exact amount of the time signature? And I want to show something here. I gotta find it. It's in my output. So I have a bunch of outputs. JSON, so input folder. I'm looking for presets, combinations, cache. We're going to look at, I gotta be careful, hold on. We're gonna open this with, what's something that I could open it with? Let's do Notepad++, maybe? Get in there. I'm gonna share a new window here in a second. Alright, hold on. Window capture, Notepad++, and going to share that. So here it is. This is a file which is, it's a 50 megabit JSON file that is not formatted purposely to reduce the file size. So it's a big file. Can't quite show it unless I format it. I don't want to regenerate the content. I'm just trying to go a line at a time if it lets me modify 50 megabit file text. And just, this is a dictionary, JSON, whatever. Just gonna go line by line for a couple of lines. It's hard to tell when it starts and stops though. Oops. Did that one too early. Went over. This is just the output. This is not even the code. This is just a cache. so that the code doesn't have to generate it if it already exists. You can kind of tell where it's going to start, stop, end. So this is one, this is another, and this was that. So it stops right there, actually. Hold on. I went one line too far down. Right here. It's a final comma. And it's the same pattern each time. So what each of these are in this 50 megabit file is a possible list of note lengths to fill into the time signature. So this specific file, let's see the note name, time signature 4.0 all, combo type all. What does that mean? All note length combo types, tuplets, dotted, and it says right here, available lengths, 0.25, 0.33, 0.375, 0.5, 0.667, 0.75, all the note lengths that are dotted, not dotted, all that stuff. And it just goes through possible combinations. This is all the notes. This is another information of the note. This is, excuse me, this is other information regarding tuplets. Which ones are tuplets? And like it says, these are tuplets. The first, or sorry, not the first, but if you're counting 0, then it is the first. So 0, 1, 2, 3. These are tuplets based on this array. Because the index 1, 2, 3, and then the value. So these are I had to do that because look at, these are dotted because they're the default note lengths. 0.25, 0.5, 0.2. These are 8ths and 16ths. And that's how it gets so confusing because it's simpler if each note length is unique, right? They're unique if they're dotted or not dotted, tuplet or not tuplet. As soon as you say dotted and tuplet, they're not unique because that suddenly equals the default. So like this available list is default non-tuplet. Sorry, let me say that again. This list is default and dotted because as soon as you combine dotted and tuplet, okay, let me back up. Actually, now that I think about it, this list is actually default. Just looking at the values, the list is default and, hold on a second. Just double checking my work here. So if you have this and you dot it 0.75. Okay, it is here. Just double checking everything's here. So this is what I'm trying to get at is like I was expecting unique note lengths if it was dotted and tuplet. And because it wasn't, because a dotted and tuplet is equal to the default, there's just special logic in knowing how is this a tuplet. Because they have the default note lengths. And I just had to go and say, well, there's a list of valid tuplets. Does this one fit? And if you look at the note lengths, hold on. 3, am I wrong here? Because that equals 4. 3 and 0.5, 0.25, that equals to 4. They're dotted then. Let's try this. So if we say 3, hold on. Oh, I don't want to lose my spot. 3, so this first note is a dotted. Half, that's 3. I'm just trying to get to that example. Or that example says 3, 0.5, 0.25, and 0.25. Then 0.5, non-dotted, 0.5, and then 0.25. Wait, no, 0.2. There's only, what does it say again? 0.5, 0.25, 0.25. Okay. So an eighth and 2/16. Like that. Okay. It's whatever notes. Oops, I meant to press 1, not that. Okay. So dotted half note equals a 3. Eighth note 0.5. 2/16, 0.25 each. Total sum is 4.0. But what happens if you have that same stuff, but you add a dotted and a tuplet? That is so weird. Like, it's the same. How are they different? Let me slow the template down. Compared to? What's the difference? That is so weird. I guess it's only different if you vary it. Like if you have some that are not dotted, but whatever combination that would be. Oh well. Anyways, I'm just gonna hit the generate button and see what happens. These presets are random, tempo, number of measures, exotic E, key of E, scale Neapolitan, and number of measures 85. Generate. Will it blend? Alright. Let's see what happens in the log. Oh, it's generating. Oh no, this doesn't take a while. 8/4 time signature. Okay, maybe I could show the terminal. Uh, Hold on. I'm gonna get the terminal. Uh, what did I do? Terminal, view mode, window. And I'm gonna, window mode, terminal, window. Put that in the screen is a terminal window. It's going to be run. Where is it? Run. So you see the run private, but you can see the output. It's fine. Hold on. It's generating the valid. Let's look at this. Hold on. Change the scene switcher to do that. There we go. No, come on. Something like this. Okay, start from the top. Yeah, you can see my paths, whatever. You could blah blah blah. I have the env file. I have a main. You can see the path. Haha, whatever. You can't access it. It's fine. PNG, number of cores. I'm logged into a server. This project is tied to a server. Other stuff. Twitch bot disabled. Blah blah blah. Okay, this is the key part. Finding all valid combinations for 4.0 time signature. Because that's one of the time signature note lengths that I put, obviously. And then the next step, we go to generating, but it actually is loading it from cache. See right here? And then it says again, same thing again. This time it's 222 because look at now it's just looking for tuplets only compared to the other one looking for all. Finding standard, just standard. So all note lengths is dotted tuplets. Standard note length is no variation. So no variations, you have 234,733. Well, I have to double check that because that's still the same as the standard tuplets. Or, I don't know. This is a lot of stuff. And you go to starting filtering, blah, blah, blah. Total combinations, 222. And then I have different settings inside to choose from the user how many 16ths do you want in a row, or what's the limits of total 16ths you want in the measure overall, and the blah blah blah, and do I want to allow tuplets at all. So in this case, tuplets are not allowed, and then these are like rejected combinations. It has to fit the certain criteria. In this case, no tuplets, and then a certain amount of rules for 8ths and 16ths in a row, and then a measure and total per measure, blah blah blah. And it just does that. It says processed how many from the cache and how many are invalid compared to the configuration, and an invalid triplet, blah blah blah. Blah 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 blah. Debugging, and see, cache file not found. So not yet. I have I generated the variations for 8.0 time signature, and I'm kind of scared because the last time I did that, it was about a gig of file size compared to 4.0 being 50 megs. So the number of variations of 4.0 is 234,000. And I think the last time I checked, the number of combinations for 8.0 is like 8 million, I think. 6 million, several million, which takes some time to compute. That's why I'm doing the cache, because I don't want to compute that every time I try to generate a song. But we're gonna stick with it. I don't know, could it take a half an hour? How long does it take to compute a million on my current setup? I'm not sure. Several million, I don't know. My room is a heater right now from the calculations going on. Let's see, what else? It's just gonna take some time. So I'll leave the screen here, leave it going, and we'll see. Give me a sec. Oh well, let's end it here.